This is Mac OS Ken.
Evercore's got great expectations for the next Pro iPhone. Your Apple Watch band is disgusting. And California rolls its own digital IDs. It is Monday, the 21st of August, 2023. In the background are the wild sounds of what's left of Hurricane Hillary. In the foreground, I'm Ken Ray, and this is news from macOS Ken, brought to you by yours truly and supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/macOSKen. Evercore analyst Amit Daryanani thinks the iPhone 15 Pro will look different enough from its predecessors to drive an upgrade cycle. Apple 3.0 ran part of a note he wrote on Friday. While he and his expect the consumer end of the line to be more of an evolutionary product versus a revolutionary one, they think the 15 Pro will be more shiny, less smudgy, and that's just part of the anticipated change. Among the features he expects to see reworked, the bezels on iPhone 15 Pro will shrink by about 30%, according to whomever. The note says that should increase display size. They think the edges will forsake the current stainless steel for titanium, which is less prone to fingerprints, hence more shiny, less smudgy. And the note says the edges themselves will likely get smooth, i.e. less sharp. I assume that means rounded, i.e. less square, daddy-o. As for the workings of the device, Daryanani and friends are looking for the phone to shift to a 3nm A17 processor. That'll likely mean faster performance and better battery life. And wouldn't it be funny if it didn't? And for both ends of the phone line, consumer and pro, they are looking for the company to drop the Lightning connector in favor of USB-C. Put them all together, and what have you got? According to Team Evercore, we think the design changes plus 3nm chipset plus USB-C will not only drive device refresh, but also drive a higher ASP mix via both 1, higher pricing, and 2, incrementally convincing consumers to spend more and purchase the Pro models versus the base models. Daryanani has an outperform rating on Apple shares. His price target on the shares is $210. Some of the biggest tech firms in the U.S. are asking the U.S. government to intercede in India. You may remember the story from a little over a week ago, the one that had India restricting the import of laptops, servers, and other foreign-made electronics in an apparent effort to increase local production. Originally announced to go into effect immediately, the country backed off a bit, pushing the import ban to the start of November. Now a piece from Bloomberg says trade groups representing such companies as Apple and Intel have written to the U.S. Department of Commerce, the U.S. Trade Representative, and kind of the U.S. government in general. The groups want government officials to impress upon India how disruptive this whole thing could be for India and its consumers. In a joint memo, the group said the move could significantly disrupt trade, hamper efforts to more closely integrate India into global supply chains, and harm businesses and consumers in both India and the U.S. Another of the letter's arguments seems to be that such moves make it hard to know how or whether to deal with India. Bloomberg has the document indicating that India's reliability as a trade and supply chain partner is put into question by steps that inhibit the free flow of goods. It also argues that the surprise move will damage India's ambitions to become a global manufacturing hub. The letter concludes, saying India's potential will only be achieved if businesses have assurance about a predictable regulatory climate. Regulatory filings take so much mystery out of life. Last week, we heard of what seems to be iPhone 15 turning up on a government database in India. Now a piece from Mac Rumors says something similar has happened with Apple Watch. Late last week, the site said Apple had filed a listing for a 2023 watchOS subsystem in the Bluetooth product database. While not surprising, the listing suggests that Apple is gearing up to launch new Apple Watch models in September, as it does every year. See? They take all the fun out of stuff. No mystery. Well, less mystery. The listing does not reveal any specific details, according to Mac Rumors. Hey, you know what's gross? Your Apple Watch band. So says new research published in the journal Advances in Infectious Diseases. Ugh. According to a report from 9 to 5 Mac, the study studied bands for the Apple Watch and other wearables made from rubber, cloth, leather, plastic, gold, and silver. Researchers were apparently looking for relationships between the material of the wristband and bacteria buildup. And did they find it. According to the piece, the study found that 95% of all bands were contaminated with some kind of dangerous bacteria. The most common type of bacteria attracted by Apple Watch bands is Staphylococcus spp, which can cause staph infections, and it was found on 85% of bands. The researchers point out, however, that this was not unexpected. This story is so gross. More notable, according to researchers, the presence of Pseudomonas aeruginosa, a type of germ that the CDC says can cause pneumonia, infections in the blood, and more, according to the report. That turned up on 30% of watch bands tested. Meanwhile, E. coli bacteria turned up on 60%. If you're working out with your wearable, you need to wash it too, according to researchers. Quoting the study, the gym goer showed the highest staphylococcal counts, which emphasizes the necessity of sanitizing wristbands after engaging in rigorous activity at the gym or at home. As for which materials were worst, 9 to 5 Mac says the researchers say the cloth, rubber, and plastic bands had the highest level of bacterial counts, followed by leather. Metal bands were found to carry very little bacteria, likely due to the fact that they aren't commonly worn during workouts. One of the researchers is quoted as saying, "The quantity and taxonomy of bacteria found on the wristbands show that there is need for regular sanitation of these surfaces." For its part, Apple has a set of general suggestions, as well as suggestions for specific watch parts and surfaces. Generally, the company says using a 70% isopropyl alcohol wipe, 75% ethyl alcohol wipe, or Clorox disinfecting wipes, you may gently wipe the exterior surfaces of your Apple Watch and your Solo Loop, Sport Band, Nike Sport Band, Ocean Band, or Metal Band. Don't use on fabric or leather bands. Don't use products containing bleach or hydrogen peroxide. Avoid getting moisture in any openings. And don't submerge your Apple Watch in any cleaning agents. If you can't wait to get your face inside an Apple Vision Pro, you probably still have to. The $3,500 device won't ship until early next year, which means sometime between the start of January and the end of April 2024. Why then do I say you probably still have to wait? Because you could know somebody, as AppleInsider managing editor Mike Wuerthele does. While he spent a bit of time with Apple's mixed reality headset at WWDC when the device was introduced, he has since gotten to do a deeper dive. I won't tell you whose headset he was using because he wouldn't tell readers whose headset he was using, and I have no idea. What I can tell you is he spent enough time with the device to write a more in-depth preview/review than I've seen anywhere else. There's no point in my trying to boil it down. He spent a lot of time using the headset and a lot of time writing his thoughts. That said, if you can't learn enough about Apple Vision Pro or haven't learned enough about it yet, look for the article Hands-On with Apple Vision Pro in the Wild at AppleInsider.com. Tesla is turning on some automation tools for iPhone, and it's using iPhone tools to do it. The site Electrek Intercede.co says the car maker has started to roll out Apple Shortcuts integration in a new mobile app update, offering new ways to turn things on and off in the car. Nothing kinky either time. Notes for the update say users can now access their vehicle controls and climate from the Apple Shortcuts app. Tesla shortcuts currently available include the ability to lock and unlock the car, starting and stopping preconditioning for the car, enabling and disabling Sentry mode, and enabling and disabling dog mode, which is a really good mode. Yes, it is. It is a really good mode. While users have been able to accomplish some of these tasks with third-party apps in the past, Electrek says this is the first time they've been officially integrated with Apple's own app. Users can flip the virtual switches either by asking Apple's virtual assistant to do so or tapping the Shortcuts widget. And finally today, California says you can keep your state-issued ID in your iPhone, but you can't keep it in Apple Wallet. Beginning last week, a piece from 9 to 5 Mac says the Golden State expanded its testing of digital IDs to the public, allowing anyone to head to the state's DMV website to get started on the process. Rather than using solutions made by Apple or Google, though, the piece says California is rolling its own, making CA DMV wallet apps for iOS and Android. Through the app, the report says residents can verify their identity, complete a liveness check, and eventually gain access to a digital version of their ID, which, you guessed it, nobody is taking yet. Feels like the contact tracing thing all over again. There's only room for 1.5 million participants in this pilot phase, so California residents wanting to take part should hit up the DMV website as soon as possible. You want to keep packing your physical IDs, though. The state says law enforcement, state government agencies, and businesses aren't yet accepting the mobile driver's licenses. Otherwise, they're awesome. macOS Ken, brought to you by me and supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/macOSKen. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media. Online at backbeatmedia.com. You can reach me a couple of ways. Info at macosken.com or call 716-780-4080. Until next time, that is news from macOS Ken. I'm Ken Ray.
Ciao.